Dear Journal, Tyree and I have been the best of friends since grade school. I remember the day we moved in next door and Dad was surprised that my mom already had a playdate set up with the family next door. I met Tyree that day. We clicked immediately. Little did I know that this encounter would lead to a friendship that would shape my entire existence. I met the oldest sibling, Frankie, first. His infectious smile and warm demeanor was so very welcoming. He introduced me to Tyree, which he referred to as his little bro. Tyree and I were the same age, and from the moment we met, there was an instant connection. I remember that day vividly. Mom and I walked next door with a Tupperware full of oatmeal chocolate chip cookies that my mom purchased from the bakery next door to our old house the day before. I remember how hard my dad laughed as my mom was taking the cookies out of the bakery box. She handed me one and then began arranging the cookies in the Tupperware. "Shut up, James," she shouted at my dad in that playful tone she used every time my dad would tease her. I didn't know it then, but now I realize it was something my mom did often when she met new moms and she was trying to pretend she baked. My mom was no baker. She didn't even cook a lot. She had a few specialties. She could hook up some awesome chicken spaghetti, fried chicken, and a delicious grilled cheese. My dad would always tease her and say, "That's okay, Tracy. I didn't marry you for your cooking. You are a brilliant career woman, wonderful wife and mother, and besides, you can order a mean pizza." My mom would punch him playfully in the arm, and then they would embrace each other. It was absolute magic to witness how in love my parents were. They were high school sweethearts, the perfect example of black love at its finest. Who would have thought just a year later my mom would have to say goodbye to her husband and her first love? My dad passing away was the hardest time of my life. Cancer sucks. My mom changed a lot after we lost my dad. She buried herself in her work. She would work all the time. And the bond we built with the family next door became a necessity in our life, especially for me. I ate a lot of dinners and spent a lot of nights at their home. I was an only child, and Tyree became the brother I never had. I was in the 5th grade when my dad passed away, and Tyree was there for me just like a brother would be. When I wanted to shut the world out, he was there to give me the encouragement to keep moving, keep pushing forward, and to give my dad something to be proud of. Tyree and I did everything together. We spent countless hours exploring the neighborhood, playing video games and talking about our future plans and the things we feared the most. He was the brother I never had, the one who understood me when no one else did. I can't express how much I valued our friendship. Even though our personalities were polar opposites, we balanced each other out. Tyree was very outgoing and very likable, following in his older brother Frankie's athletic footsteps. Me? I was more of an introvert. Laid back, some would say I was very fit due to the mandatory workouts we did on the weekends with Tyree's older brother Frankie. Thanks to Frankie, I remember a young woman referring to me as a sexy nerd one day as I was studying at the library on a Saturday morning. It made me feel great. I was not used to the constant compliments that Tyree and Frankie received on a daily basis. I was different. I didn't see myself as the kind of ladies' man Frankie and Tyree were. I was super smart, fairly handsome, and I took advantage of every opportunity to reach another academic goal. I set for myself. I appreciated how Tyree and Omar would celebrate my academic accomplishments as big as their athletic ones. I remember when we were younger, how Tyree would encourage us to be academically successful. "Don't be typical," was his exact words. Be able to do more than just have a ball or a microphone in your hand. Tyree and I both looked up to Frankie. He was so genuine, and we both held him in high regards. He was a true big brother and a walking example for us. I can honestly say even though Tyree and I both grew up in single-mother homes, we did not lack anything. Both our moms were very hardworking and strong, mostly because they had to be. Frankie was an excellent role model for us, and Tyree and I both tended to admire Frankie and inspired to pattern our own lives after his. We were all determined to graduate with academic scholarships. We all knew Tyree, and Frankie were going to get both academic and athletic scholarships. I was never into sports or even good at them. Even after years off mandatory workouts that we enjoyed every weekend and summer with Frankie. I knew my academic scholarships had to be twice as good because I wanted to be able to follow my dreams. Long term, I wanted to be the greatest computer software engineer out of Chicago. Tyree and I always dreamed of going to college together and being roommates. Tyree was there for me through thick and thin, offering an unwavering amount of love and support. He's seen me at my best and at my worst, and yet he has never wavered in his loyalty. I am eternally grateful for his presence in my life, but now I find myself in a heartbreaking predicament. There is a devastating secret that I have been keeping from Tyree, and it's tearing me apart. I never wanted to hurt him, but the truth is too painful to reveal. I fear that if he discovers what I've done, it will destroy our friendship and permanently shatter our bond forever. The weight of my secret has been eating away at my soul. I haven't been able to look Tyree in the eye or truly return the favor of being there for him after he had a massive and tragic loss in his life. Let me start at the beginning. Kayla was every young man's dream girl, and she was perfect in every way. The first time I saw her, I was scrolling through the gram and saw her story. I was immediately intrigued and went to her page and started going through her pics. I fell hard and fast for Kayla Perkins. Curiosity got the better of me, and I mustered up just enough courage to DM her and introduce myself. I couldn't bring myself to DM her from my own account, so I made a dummy account and used Tyree's older brother Frankie's pic as my profile. She told me that she was new to social media and new to Chicago, which worked out perfectly for me. She wouldn't know who Frankie was, and hopefully she didn't have any friends that did either. I did admit what high school I went to. Turns out she attended our rival school in Bridgeport. We started talking, and it felt as if we had known each other for years. We discovered shared interests, dreams, and fears. It was as if we were two halves of a whole, completing each other in ways I never thought possible. She was the type of girl that I never would imagine would go for a guy like me. My insecurities started to surface after only the first conversation. I wanted to come clean to Kayla, but the lie had already spiraled out of control. She talked about how she wanted to try out for the cheerleading team. I remember the day she texted me with the good news of her making the team, and I was surprised at how genuinely proud I was of her. I remember the night I asked Kayla, after we had been on the phone for 3 hours straight, why she was single, and didn't talk to anyone from her school. She told me about her first month in Chicago, when she was the new kid in school. She was approached by many boys either asking her out, asking for her number, or trying to run some lame game. But it was this one guy, Jason, who lived a few streets over from her and who she regretfully took a ride home from. She said they had several classes together, so she saw no harm in taking a ride from her classmate. He seemed nice enough to go a few blocks down the road with. Besides, he was going in her direction. She told me how they laughed and talked the whole ride home and exchanged numbers. I was getting a bit jealous of him being able to physically spend time with the woman of my dreams. Then Kayla reached a part in her story where Jason had flipped the script completely, and the nice guy she thought she met became totally possessive toward her and would beat up or threaten to seriously injure any male that even glanced in her direction. His temper with her was even changing by the day, and within a month's time he was trying to control her every move. Kayla stated she broke things off with him but said he still to that day threatens any guy that looks her way. She ignores him for the most part, but she still sees his blue Charger seating idly on her street corner sometimes. A blue Charger? I asked. The scat pack with the license plate that reads, "Death to you?" "Yeah, that's the one," she said. And then she asked if I knew Jason. Jason? No. But I did know J Boogie. Everyone did. He was a known gang member, and his whole family was OG members. He was no joke, but nothing that put fear in my heart. I wasn't worried. Tyree and I had a couple run-ins with him and his crew. But that one time, Frankie drove up and gave J Boogie's boss a look that I never saw Frankie give anyone before. It read history, but that was a different story for a different time. After that day, J Boogie and his whole crew didn't even look in our direction. It was an understanding one, I could tell that never really sat right with Jay Boogie, but it was what it was, and what was understood didn't need to be explained. At least that's how I remember Frankie explaining it to us when we got back home that day. I was irritated that Kayla had to go through so much drama, but I couldn't help but understand the reasons why Jay Boogie would be so obsessed and would want a girl like Kayla all to himself.